Hello, my name is Kathleen Salsi-Puedes, and I will be sharing the review of my bilingual advocacy project. So just to forewarn, the original presentation is at least 30 minutes, which thankfully will be only covering 5 minutes of this presentation. This was originally addressed to school board members, and thankfully in Downey, I was able to speak to school board members in a private school. So introducing bilingualism to them was something that they didn't disagree with. They actually very much were excited to learn more about bilingualism. However, since COVID and other situations that are happening with the school, they didn't have the funds or the support in order to get that. So um, what really came in handy was providing information and getting them to know more of the opportunities around them. One of the main issues or things that hurt my presentation in trying to benefit the bilingual projects and dual immersion programs was the myths. The myths actually quite hurt it a lot. No one had a myth about bilingualism since majority of everyone spoke two or more languages, except for a few. Aside from that, they were all pretty much on board for bilingualism. Explaining language immersion actually very much helped in a way where no one had known what dual immersion programs were. So to give them the brief statement of what dual language learning is, as well as English language learning, everyone was able to learn to some extent, okay, so there's a difference between the two, and wanting to incorporate students really foster in bringing bilingual students into the curriculum, along with international students who may only speak proficiently in one language. This will encourage them to speak too. The quote that helped the most is use the first languages to make sense of a second language. This helped a lot. Throughout the presentation, I incorporated why is it important, why incorporate bilingualism in schools. This gave reason as to the global effects and why it was helpful, providing charts and presentation. This definitely hurt the myths. However, the third myth actually helped quite well with immigrant parents and school board members that were present in knowing that there were no apparent negative consequences to cognitive development for their child. This actually encouraged students, or sorry, not students, parents to participate in wanting to enroll their kids in dual immersion programs. Stating the pros and cons did get a bit political, so not the best to include involuntary minorities and voluntary minorities early on. I did mention it throughout the rest of the presentation. How does this culture and politics fit in with all of this? This definitely caused the entire meeting to discuss, and actually a good opportunity for everyone to think of their own answers as to why this might be. And it was pretty obvious in terms of ethnicity. So we talked about identity and ethnicity and how that correlates. By presenting the essential model and the constructivist framework, people were able to get a better understanding of how schools and how the present day is able to connect with ethnicity from at least a bilingual standpoint. Terminologies of dialects, diglossia, language minority, and minority defined. More terminology, that's actually my family and I, explaining language maintenance and language shifts, explaining types of bilingualism. This actually didn't benefit too much, but the stages of second language acquisition did. Acquisition. It helped learning, knowing where everyone was at. Code switching, translanguaging was good to serve as terminologies. Presenting educational models to provide more examples. The assessment of the DLL and the ELLS actually helped a lot with making sure that this program was accredited. The National Education Goals Panel also reassured the board members of what was this presentation was about. the importance of DLL. How can teachers incorporate bilingualism? I thought that was important to consider for school board members, knowing exactly the curriculum teachers were teaching. Um, Sharing the teacher's role in valuing children's knowledge. It shows that the teacher not only cares, but is really making the connection for parents and students to learn bilingualism together, or at least bridge the gap between language barriers. And that is listed for the importance of reflective teachers welcoming families and children. Personalizing or using poll assisted them so much actually in um, actually getting a plan for students to be participated in. Seeing the interview form actually reassured parents knowing exactly what questions would be asked. Um, Same for the supportive environment and listing the benefits. Everyone pretty much knew all of these except for improving memory. Um, Examples were given of family. Um, yeah, and the bilingualism communities were predominantly in Downey, and some of the kids from the private Downey school are actually heading to Pomona. So to keep them integrated into bilingualism was something I wanted to provide as well. And as a closing, let's bridge the language barrier and implement bilingual programs in our school today. So I gave them my references, and overall, um, yeah, this was the review of my presentation. Hopefully, this helps you uh, and you get some good critiques from it. Thank you again so much for listening, and bye.